G'day everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we're making the knife handles, getting them prepared out of this piece of spalted myrtle. You can see the lovely figure in this piece. So that's pretty much where I want to get my handle out of, where that figure is. Wouldn't look so good down there, but yeah, the figure's pretty good up there. Now this side here is pretty plain Jane, which comes into play later because I do something that I rarely do, and I don't book match the scales. I don't put them together the way they were cut because I want that nice figure that's on the other side to come to the outside. As I said, it's not something I normally do, but did it in this case because of it. I'm just marking it in with the Sharpie to the shape of the blade, and then we'll go on to the cutting. Now just cutting out the basic shape. It doesn't need to be exact at this stage, but I'm just following along with the marks I cut, removing the bulk of the timber just to make it a little easier later. And here we are drilling the pinholes. I'm just going to drill that first one in. And here I'm just rough measuring, cutting a couple of pins. I'm using 1/8 inch brass stock. So the hole I'm drilling is 3.5 mil, which is a little bit bigger than the 1/8 inch, and just allows for a bit of glue around the pin. Also makes it a little easier for it to go through. And here we are over at the grinder. As you can see in the last clip, I sandwiched the blade in between the blanks, and right now I'm just hogging some material away from the end of the blade, just to bring the end into roughly the shape I want it to do. There we go. And now I can do the end of that shape, whereas before, if I just had a big thick piece, I wouldn't be able to do it. So just putting the rest on and rounding the end up just to get the basic shape of a nice round end, which is what I'm going for on this one. Okay, that was a changeover to a 120 belt from the 60, which I used to hog off the timber. And the 120 is just going to give me a bit smoother of a finish, just make it easier to move on. And now I throw up the angle jig just to 45, just part of the edge, and just make it easier to work towards a round shape, which is what I'm looking for. Okay, and here's the bit where I decide I'm going to swap it over and do what I never do ever, which is do it as non-book matched. I just wasn't happy with the figure that was going to come out on the wood if I'd done it as a book match set. Bit of quick checking just to make sure that they match up. They didn't, so back on the grinder for a touch. Now they match and I'm happy. Okay, here we're just starting to change the angle a bit, try and get that curve that I'm after on the end. So just a bit of working around, slight angle changes, just moving it around and just curving it as we go. I try and keep both pieces together at this stage. It just makes it easier to get them matching up and looking good. Now I've got that nice smooth curve that I'm after. Now just flattening the backs. That's going to sit against the blade. I want to have a nice flat surface. I want to make sure they're going to sit together well and they're going to sit on the blade well. And there we are. Okay, and on a 1 inch wide scallop belt. These have got softer edges on them. They're a softer belt, so it just makes it easier for working on curves and that sort of thing. Very hard to see because my arm's in the way right now, but all I'm doing is working through the end of it, just trying to round it off and get that round shape to it. So done with a 120, onto a 220. And it's just a matter of progressing through and just getting that curve better and better to the shape I want it to be, and trying to make it nice and smooth. And now we're onto a 400 grit belt. Same sort of thing, just trying to get it smoother and smoother as we go along. Okay, into the vise we go, and cutting off a piece of 400 grit wet and dry paper. This is probably about the only hand sanding I do on a knife. I just do this little bit of hand sanding just to make sure that edge is nice and clean, and only pretty much do it on the timber ones too. It just gives me a nice curve finish, and basically I hate hand sanding, so I just don't do it. I've got a grinder, and that'll bring everything else up to a nice smooth work finish, which is what I work to, a work finish. I don't do them as fancy and nice to hang on a wall, I make them as nice to use. And there we are, all done. Thank you so very much for watching. Please hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the little bell notification so you get notified when I put another video out, so you can continue watching the series or any other series that I put out. And again, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Thanks very much. Bye.